afternoon, the Minister for Education will be back in the chamber. I've seen a lot of questions, close to 9 that have been filed. And tomorrow I want to encourage the House that we will be allowing the questioner an additional question as a supplementary and 2 other joyriders. Only, so that we can be able to cover the 9 questions that have been listed. And the clerk tells me there are many more flowing in. We will have the questioner, a supplementary from the questioner, and 2 joyriders, no more. Next order. You are the joyrider.
Order number 8, procedural motion. Resolution to suspend a Wednesday morning sitting.
Majority Leader.
Honorable Speaker, that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 28.4, calendar of the Assembly, this House resolves to suspend the morning sitting of Wednesday, 7th June 2023 at 9:30 a.m. The motion having been approved by the House Business Committee this morning is to allow members of the House to attend and participate in the 20th National Prayer Breakfast in the venue alluded to by the Honorable Speaker. The National Prayer Breakfast is now an annual event and organized by the Parliament of Kenya. Honorable members, as leaders, it is vital to hold and be part of such important activities. I therefore call for all members of the House to attend. Going forward, the National Prayer Breakfast will be one of the many activities in our calendar. With these few remarks, I beg to move and request the Honorable Chip Konga to second. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members. It was agreed in House Business Committee that the majority moves, the minority leader seconds. When did that change? Wandai? Go ahead and second. We must honor what we agreed in the House Business Committee.
You know, ordinarily, I do second motions moved by the leader majority, not his deputy, but all the same. All the same, I will proceed to second the motion.
Yes.
But with these remarks, Honorable Speaker.
Yes.
Honorable Speaker, I think it has now become a tradition every year for the National Assembly, indeed the Parliament of Kenya, to host the National Prayer Breakfast. So tomorrow's National Prayer Breakfast is just one of those breakfasts that you've held over the years. It's now become a tradition. Mr. Speaker, it's an occasion when the nation needs to reflect, really, on where it's standing, the gains it has made, and perhaps what lies ahead. So it's an occasion which should be, in my view, made to remain solemn as an event for thorough reflection. Mr. Speaker, let me confess that in the past, I personally haven't had the occasion to attend the National Prayer Breakfast. But for tomorrow, I will be attending. Tomorrow's National Prayer Breakfast, I will be attending. And I encourage members from across the political divide to turn up in the large numbers and attend the National Prayer Breakfast, which is scheduled for tomorrow. Of course, I must add the rider that my own leader, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, and the entire leadership of the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya coalition will not be in attendance. So they will be engaged in other national business or duties elsewhere. That notwithstanding, the entire Azimio leadership in the House, indeed, plus its membership, will be in attendance. And we hope that this particular National Prayer Breakfast will be of a different kind. Because in the past, we haven't lived to the spirit of the National Prayer Breakfast. Many times we have gone there, made lofty speeches, high-sounding remarks. At the end of the day, we go back to our usual selves. So let's hope that this event of tomorrow will be a different one, so that from there we can actually, for sure, embark on a renewal of the nation. Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, you know we may differ in very many things, as is expected anyway in politics. But one thing that is for sure a fact is that we all need God, Mr. Speaker. We all need God. And we must continually pray to God, collectively and individually, so that this country can be rescued. You never know, Mr. Speaker. This prayer event might actually soften people's hearts and perhaps lead to the withdrawal of the offending finance bill 2023. You never know. You never know. You never know. That's why I encourage my members, please stand up in your numbers tomorrow so that we can pray together and seek God's intervention. Thank you. May God bless. I second.
Honourable members, I propose the question, which is that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 28.4, calendar of the Assembly, this House resolved to suspend the morning sitting of Wednesday, 7th June 2023 at 9:30 a.m. Majority Leader? Majority Leader wants to say something.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I rise to support that motion. And indeed, as a leader of minority in seconding, but also to tell him the deputy leader was moving on my behalf, was on a phone call behind. But Honorable Speaker, as a leader of minority, says that this prayer breakfast gives us an opportunity to come together as one people. Honorable Speaker, is our perfect opportunity to come together and reconcile ourselves first to our God. And I appreciate that the leader of minority also appreciates that the role God has in all our lives, irrespective of our political affiliation, Honorable Speaker. Two, it gives us the opportunity to also reconcile man to man. And therefore, I also look forward, Honorable Speaker, after the lofty speeches that would be at the prayer breakfast and the prayers, Honorable Speaker, because we cannot underestimate the value and the role that prayers play in our lives. Honorable Speaker, if you want to ask how powerful prayer is, ask those of us in Kenya Kwanza, we will tell you how powerful prayer is. And we never take it for granted. And just as the leader of minority has announced the presence of the entire leadership of the Azimio leadership in Parliament and the absence of the Azimio leadership outside of Parliament, let me also announce the presence in that prayer breakfast meeting of the entire leadership of the Kenya Kwanza coalition in Parliament, and also our party leaders led by none other than His Excellency the President, because he knows that it has taken prayers for him to be president today. It has taken prayers for us to enjoy the peace and tranquility that we enjoy today. And Honorable Speaker, we suffered a drought in this country that we have not experienced for a record 40 years, and we kept saying that it is the worst drought in 40 years. Honorable Speaker, you remember when the President and the Deputy President led Kenyans in a prayer meeting at Nyayo Stadium. People made fun of it. But as I say, we can tell you the power of prayers, because after those prayers, Honorable Speaker, and prayers by many Kenyans, we have experienced rains in this country, and we want to pray, Honorable Speaker, even as we meet tomorrow morning to pray, that we not only reconcile ourselves to our God and our Maker, but also we reconcile amongst ourselves as political leaders, even as we seek to reconcile Kenyans. And how I pray that these prayers will also soften our hearts, that those who continue to incite Kenyans, those who continue to misinform and disinform Kenyans, even on the questions of the finance bill, will now reconcile themselves with their conscience and come and debate the issues touching on finance bill on the floor of this house, because this is where to engage on matters that touch on the lives and matters that are of concern to the people who have sent us here to represent them. Honorable Speaker, with those few remarks, I take opportunity to invite all of you, including my good friend, the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka, my good friend, the Honorable Raila Odinga, our former Prime Minister, to the prayer breakfast. And should they not be there, we shall pray for them. And I want to encourage Kenyans and all of us to pray for each other. Just like every day I pray for the former Prime Minister and my good friend, the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka. Every day I do, and I'll continue to pray for them, Honorable Speaker. Just as I pray for my President and my Deputy President, I pray for our leaders. As I also pray, this is why, Honorable Speaker, you see the Honorable Junet. I have been praying for the Honorable Junet to show up again in Parliament. And I am happy he's here today, Honorable Speaker. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I invite all of you to join us in the prayer breakfast tomorrow.
Honorable members, I honestly don't want to escalate debate. Junet, because of your prolonged absence in the House, I'll give you 2 minutes. After you,
thank you.
Order. After you, I'll give the chair of the prayer breakfast committee, the co-chair. One of the co-chairs is in the Senate, and from this house is Chepkonga. Then I'll put the question. Buddy, you want to say something? Junet?
Speaker, Mr. Speaker,
2 minutes.
I stand to support the motion, Mr. Speaker, that we suspend the sitting of tomorrow morning so that we can have the prayer breakfast. Mr. Speaker, we have been having this prayer breakfast now for quite some time when I've been in this Parliament. It's very important, Mr. Speaker, that people come together, pray together, reconcile together, so that the country can move forward. But Mr. Speaker, this prayer also is a very expensive one. It's not the ordinary prayer, Mr. Speaker. The kind of food they serve there, Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether it comes through prayers also, because it's not a small thing, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I don't know how we can get feedback, whether God has accepted that prayer. It's what I've been looking for the last 5 years, Mr. Speaker. But having said, Mr. Speaker, I have heard the majority leader, he said he has prayed for me so that I can come back. Mr. Speaker, one prayer that I know has not been accepted is that one. Because he just called me, he never prayed. He told me, but there's some business in the house, business, come back to the house, we discuss. That's not a prayer, Mr. Speaker. And I know, even from his physical appearance, Mr. Speaker, he cannot qualify to pray for anyone. You know the way he appears, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, lastly, I want to say that let us not also overuse prayers. Sometimes you might burden God with small things because he has given you brain to do it. But if you continue praying on everything, Mr. Speaker, and you are a doctor, you can treat someone like Dr. Pokosa, Mr. Speaker, but you are telling me go and pray so that you get healed. That one I will not accept, Mr. Speaker. So let us, tusisumbue Mungu pia sana, let us pray for important things that we need help from God. Thank you very much.
Honorable Junet, God has never complained about
I know.
Buddy, 2 minutes, then Chepkonga will close.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to support this motion, although I want to announce early that I will not attend for my good reasons. I have very good reasons for not attending. I've shared with Honorable Chepkonga. I still want him to do a lot more to convince me to attend this prayer breakfast. Mr. Speaker, I hope the caliber of the preachers will be carefully chosen so that we don't end up with preachers who, after we leave Safari Park, then you see them involved in Shakahola kind of case. That would be a big shame for to this house. Let it happen to other places like the executive, but not this house inviting people with questionable characters to pray for us. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to remind Honorable Chungwa that he doesn't own God. God belongs to all of us. And by the way, he doesn't go to church quite often. I know him. I want to lecture him that God sometimes, when he finds that you are so tough-headed, he gives you very bad leaders so that you learn. You get to know that leaders can force you to pay all the money that you earn in form of taxes. Those are the kind of leaders God can give you if you become tough-headed. And I think Kenyans should now start learning that God can answer prayers by giving you very bad leaders. And you can see it, the kind of arrogance that comes from majority leader, and the kind of arrogance that comes from other officers. I know, Mr. Speaker, if I mention those officers, and you know them, you will ask me that they are not here to defend themselves. But the majority leader is here. This kind of arrogance, finance bills, Mr. Speaker.
I have no way of knowing what is on your mind.
So I can go ahead. But Mr. Speaker,
Conclude and sit down.
Mr. Speaker, Joe Biden, the president of the most...
Your time is up. Chepkonga, before you conclude, let me give Faith Gitau 1 minute, Faith.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this chance. Indeed, we have come this far, not because of what we have done, but because of what God has done for us. And therefore, this prayer breakfast tomorrow is quite very important. First and foremost, what we are going to do is to thank God for fighting each battle for each one of us. It wasn't easy even for us to be back here in Parliament, but God did it. And even as Kenya as a whole, we want to thank God that today we are seated here with Junet, who has been far away from us for a long, long time. And I want to support our majority leader here. It is because of the prayers that we've been offering that God brought you today. So we welcome all of you to our prayer breakfast tomorrow. Thank you.
Tomorrow. Thank you, Faith. Chepkonga, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. First, I want to thank you on behalf of the Committee of the National Prayer Breakfast for agreeing, Mr. Speaker, to suspend the House tomorrow so that all members can attend prayers. As you know, Mr. Speaker, the Bible reads in 1 Thessalonians 5, chapter 5, verse 16, it says, "Rejoice always, pray without ceasing, give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus." So, Mr. Speaker, it is the will of God that we must pray. So it is an opportunity for all of us as leaders to pray. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, this National Prayer Breakfast is organized by Parliament. It's organized by Parliament, Mr. Speaker, and all members of Parliament are invited. Everybody has been given a card to attend tomorrow. Thirdly, Mr. Speaker, we have a slot for the very popular choir, the parliamentary choir, Mr. Speaker, where everybody sings. And Mr. Speaker, we expect to see every member tomorrow participating in singing to the Lord and praising the Lord. So I expect to see the minority leader and the majority leader leading that choir, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, with those remarks, I associate myself with the many remarks that have been made. And I would like to say, Mr. Speaker, you know God is not annoyed with people who make hilarious comments. God is also a joyful God. You know, He loves people who are hilarious. We are not sad people. This is an occasion to be happy, Mr. Speaker. So the honorable Badi, my very good friend, Mr. Speaker, whatever that he has just said, God is comfortable with it, Mr. Speaker. God is not annoyed with him. So welcome tomorrow to the National.
The Bible says you'll go to heaven with the trumpets and singing. Honorable members, I now put the question that pursuant to the provision of Standing Order 28.4, calendar of the Assembly, this House resolved to suspend the morning sitting of Wednesday, 7th June 2023 at 9:30 a.m. As members of that opinion say aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Honorable members, before we go to the next order, allow me to acknowledge the presence of the following schools in the public gallery: Ithanga Secondary School from Gatanga, Muranga, Kaiteneni Secondary School, Masinga, Machakos, Good Testimony Junior School, Embakasi East, Nairobi, Kerugoya Boys, Kirinyaga, and other members in the Speakers Gallery. We have Kagumo Girls from Kirinyaga Central, Kirinyaga, and we have Migwani Boys, Mwingi West, Kitui. Honorable CNN tells me that that is old school, and he has asked me to give him a minute to welcome the school. 1 minute. And on behalf of all your colleagues, you can welcome your school and the rest of the schools.
So, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Let me take this time to welcome my former secondary school students in this parliament, and I'm proud to have interacted with them. I wish them safe journey back home and let them work hard. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And others who are here, you can see we are expecting you to be in this chamber in the future. Go and work very hard so that you can come back like us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
On behalf of the House and on my own behalf, I welcome all the schools to the House of Parliament and urge you to feel at home and learn from what you see here. Next order.
Order number 9, the Regional Development Authorities Bill, National Assembly Bill number 7 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to consolidate the laws relating to regional development, to provide for establishment, powers and functions of regional development bodies, and for connected purposes. Order number 10, the Conflict of Interest Bill, National Assembly Bill number 12 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the management and regulation of conflict of interest and for connected purposes. Order number 11, the Public Finance Management Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 16 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Public Finance Management Act and for connected purposes. Order number 12, the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the coordination of the public institutions in the control of food and feed safety, to establish the Office of the Food Safety Controller, to provide for the role of county governments in food and feed safety and for connected purposes. Order number 13, the Privatization Bill, National Assembly Bill number 22 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for regulatory framework for the privatization of public entities, to establish the Privatization Authority and for connected purposes. Order number 14, the County Government's Additional Allocations Bill, National Assembly Bill number 23 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the additional allocations to county governments for the 2023-2024 financial year, the responsibilities of national government and county governments pursuant to such allocation and for connected purposes. Order number 15, motion. Consideration of the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the National Government Constituencies Development Fund for 26 constituencies. Resumption of debate.
Order, honorable members, before we resume the debate, Honorable Wanjiku Muya has a short statement to make. Go ahead, Wanjiku.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable members, as you are aware that Kenya is a member of East Africa.
Order, honorable members who are caucusing. The Kamkunji on my right.
And honorable members, this is very important. Yes. The Committee of Experts on the Constitutional Amendment for Political Confederation is ongoing here in Kenya and East Africa, and Parliament is expected to give your views. As such, the Office of the Clerk has mandated the Committee of Regional Integration to write a memoranda and give the views to this constitutional amendment. In that case, honorable members, we are inviting your views either through our committee or through the clerk's office so that we can enrich this constitutional amendment. For clarification, the East African is built on 4 pillars: custom union, common market, monetary union, and eventually political federation. The summit, which is the highest level of governance in East Africa, gave a directive that we have political confederation as a transition before we engage to full-fledged political federation. And in that case, the confederation requires a constitution to guide the community, and so it is so critical to have your views. Any person, any member of goodwill, we welcome you through the office of the clerk or the committee, particularly the lawyers in this house. Give us your views so that we take to Arusha a very enriched memoranda which will be considered in this constitutional amendment. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Wanjiku Muya, my record shows that on this motion on consideration of reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements of NGCDF, the Honorable Jen Kihara was on the floor and had a balance of 6 minutes. Is Jen Kihara in the house? If Jen Kihara isn't, the next will be Phyllis Bartow. I see you are top on the list. Or you are among those who just keyed in case you get a chance on any issue.
Mr. Speaker,
you are not ready for this?
No, I had been given an opportunity to present my views.
Already?
Yeah.
You are top on the, then disengage from the equipment. John Kawanjiku. It appears Kawanjiku is ill prepared for this. Then disengage. Wilberforce Oundo. Had you keyed in to speak on this? Honourable members, this system of ours, before Oundo speaks, I have asked the House Business Committee that they may have to design a better system of electronic queuing to speak, so that at the end of every order, we wipe the screen and then you key in order of your interests. Because there are some of you come in at 1:30, 2 o'clock, block the screen and walk away, or block the screen and you are not ready to speak. Oundo, you are ready for this?
Okay, I'm not so sure.
Oundo, yes.
I need to check.
Honorable Oundo. Unfortunately, you have already spoken on
Yeah,
this
that's what
motion.
I was thinking. My memory doesn't serve me wrong.
Yes.
Yes.
Samuel Atandi. Have you keyed in to speak on this? No.
Honorable Speaker, I don't want to talk on this one.
Peter Kihungi.
Yeah.
No. Donya Doris. No. Clear yourselves from the screen. Gertrude Mbeyu. Don't see her. Kibet Komingoi. Geoffrey Ruku. Geoffrey Mulanya. Amazing. Zamzam. Zamzam Chimba. Not Peter Orero of Kibra. Is not here. Robert Bukose. Give the floor to Honorable Bukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to contribute to this report of the Special Funds Accounts Committee on financial report, auditor's report for the financial years 2013-2014, 2014-2015, 2015-2016 for the counties of Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi, Tana River, Taita Taveta, Lamu, about 26 constituencies. Honorable Speaker, on the report of these constituencies, which have been funded by NGCDF, there were many issues that I think it's very important, especially for the honorable members to understand. More often, you find that you have reports indicating that maybe a certain constituency is not doing well. It is not the member who is responsible for the day-to-day NGCDF financial runnings. And it is very wrong at times to blame the honorable members on some of those mismanagement in as far as constituencies are concerned. When you look at this auditor's report, the accounting officer for those constituencies are the constituency funds managers. And it's very important that every member, whenever the financial reports are tabled by the Auditor General, that the honorable members are able to look at it. And what we observed in many of these reports is that there were delays in as far as release of the funds to the constituencies. And this has tracked on up to today. Because as we speak today, Honorable Speaker, many constituencies have received less, almost all the constituencies have received less than a half of what they deserve. And Honorable Mbui raised an issue in the, when you gave your statement about reports from the head of state. And I think it is important that honorable members receive their share allocation of the CDF funds so that those projects which we had committed to do them, we are able to do it within the specified period. When you look at some of the reports in the CDF in those various constituencies, we looked at a report in Kwanza. In the report from Kwanza, you find that there is duplication of projects. A project which was funded by CDF has also been funded by the Equalization Fund, where you find that a dam, which was supposed to have been done by CDF, has also been allocated money from Equalization Fund. Then you wonder, how did the Equalization Fund, what is it that was done by Equalization Fund, and what is it that was done by the NGCDF? So that issue of co-funding, I think, is a big major issue that should be looked into. We also were able to look at some of the reports in some constituencies which were not able because of, you look at a constituency which is not able to expand because in some of the constituencies like Mfita, when you look at its report, Mfita is already exhausted. There are no new schools which are being built. The NGCDF is now building walls and other amenities, swimming pool, walls, doing electricity and other things. While in another constituency, there is even no funds to construct a classroom. Students are reading in a tree. One classroom is even not complete. So these are issues that there is a lot of disparities. And when we came back in the last parliament, there are some things that were done in making that CDF be done on ward levels. Yet some of the wards have a higher population than, even if you have 6 wards and somebody else has 3 wards, the population numbers within those wards are not the same. And therefore, you find that people end up with disparities in terms of even disbursement of bursaries and other services. So, Honorable Speaker, CDF or NGCDF has done tremendous things within these 26 constituencies in the coastal region that you are able to see, that you are able to feel. And therefore, I think we should be able to continue doing more audit reports, looking at what CDF has done, and really appreciating the services that the Wananchi are getting through CDF. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I want to support the report of the committee.
Order, honorable members. Order. The chair for the Finance Committee is now in the House. Allow me to interrupt the debate and allow him to table his report and give notice of motion. Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House. Today, Tuesday, the 6th of June, 2023, the reports of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning on its vetting of a nominee for appointment as Governor of the Central Bank of Kenya.
Thank you. Go ahead and give the notice of motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give the following motion. I beg to give notice of the following motion: that taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Finance and National Planning in its report on the vetting of a nominee for the appointment as the Governor of the Central Bank of Kenya, laid on the table of the House this Tuesday, the 6th of June, 2023, and pursuant to Section 13(1) of the Central Bank of Kenya Act, Cap 491, and Section 8(1) of the Public Appointments Parliamentary Approval Act of 2011, that this House approves the appointment of Dr. Kamau Thuge, CBS, as the Governor of the Central Bank of Kenya. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Kimani. Kawanjiku.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I take this opportunity first to appreciate you for giving me this opportunity so that I can be able to contribute towards this motion of great importance to our constituents and to our people within the constituency. Mr. Speaker, it is true that the Auditor General has done his part, but we need to appreciate the work that is being done by the Auditor General to make sure that there is transparency and accountability in terms of these funds, so that every time that the cost, even if the work of the member of parliament is not to oversee the whole kitty of the CDF, but he has a very important role of making sure that he patronages the whole issue of the CDM, Mr. Speaker. And we have seen quite a number of development in terms of infrastructure and work being done by this fund, Mr. Speaker. We have seen also serious development in terms of school infrastructure, making sure that we have modern schools and modern classrooms, whereby we are able to accommodate quite a number of students who are schooling within our constituency, increasing the number of uptake from public primary school to public secondary school, and making sure that there is a 100% transition from our primary school to our secondary school, Mr. Speaker. This work cannot be done without the CDF fund. Among the many funds that we have within our republic, one of the funds that has been well utilized, Mr. Speaker, is the NGCDF fund that is oversighted by the Member of Parliament from this country, Mr. Speaker. Also, we have seen serious development, Mr. Speaker, in terms of innovations, in terms of making sure that we have given our students enough infrastructure to make sure they are comfortable even when they are schooling and even when they are doing their studies within our public primary school, Mr. Speaker. The issue of the CDF also deals with in terms of security, making sure that, Mr. Speaker, we have enough police posts, we have enough police stations, we are looking into issues to do with those developments, so that also we can be able to house our police officers and our policemen and our policewomen within our constituency, so that we can enhance the security system within the constituency, Mr. Speaker. The bursary also has been a very, very big issue within our republic and within our constituency. And I dare say, Mr. Speaker, I think we also need to look at, in terms of fairness, how we distribute these bursaries, Mr. Speaker, in our constituency. Sometimes we realize that we have so many members. For example, in my constituency, Keba constituency, I have 120,000 voters, Mr. Speaker. And you realize the amount of money that we get for bursaries is not enough to make sure that there is equal distribution of this bursary. Sometimes we tend to let some students go without the bursaries, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, we will recommend, and with time, we are going to bring to the floor of this House an amendment to this NGCDF Act, so that we can be able to separate between the bursary and the infrastructure development of the CDF, Mr. Speaker, whereby we will make sure that any student within the Republic of Kenya can get an equal share of the bursary, whether you are in Kiamba or whether you are in Uasin Gishu, whether you are in Wajir. The amount of bursary that each and every student gets allocated to him from the Constitutional Development Fund, we make sure that all over the Republic is the equal amount of money that all the students are able to receive within the Republic, Mr. Speaker. And I therefore say that we'll bring this amendment and make sure that we support the bursary, make sure that we support the NGCDF, so that we can separate the bursary and the infrastructure. And we make sure that even the board itself has been able to audit and to make sure that all the students within the Republic of Kenya are able to get same allocation of bursary wherever they are, so that we can make sure that there is fairness and there is equity in terms of how this NCDF is distributed. Some of us in our population, Mr. Speaker, we have a constituency like Ruto. We have a constituency whereby you have more than 2,200 voters, Mr. Speaker. But the same amount of money you receive for the CDF from a constituency that has 25,000 voters is the same amount the person who has 120 or 250,000 voters is receiving, Mr. Speaker. And therefore it becomes very difficult in terms of how do you distribute these resources to all those members of your society. We had an incident whereby when people were coming to pick for bursaries form, we even lost a parent, Mr. Speaker, because it was on first come, first serve, Mr. Speaker. Therefore, we support the transparency and the accountability and whatever the Auditor General is doing, but we also make sure that there is equal distribution in terms of the resources, in terms of how much money we receive as a member, as a NGCDF, wherever we are, whatever the constituency, so that we can make sure that, Mr. Speaker, there is that equity and fairness in terms of the distribution. Therefore, the work the NGCDF is doing is amazing. You go to our constituencies, you'll see the boards all over that there is presence of the CDF or the money of the CDF wherever we are within our constituency. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, I like to support. Thank you.
Kawanjiku, Owen Bayer.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this motion that discusses the reports of the Auditor General on the financial statements for the National Government Constituencies Development Fund for 26 constituencies that are basically at the coast region for the period 2013 to 2016. Honorable Speaker, one of the things that I need to note is this is for the 11th Parliament. This report covers the 11th Parliament, and actually they are late. I just hope that the committee in charge of CDF now will be able to give us reports on time. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, I happen to have participated on this report when my friend Dr. Pokose came visiting at the coast to oversee, or to, when they were doing the audit, they were following on the audit queries. And I went around with Dr. Pokose, and I saw the kind of projects that were done and the issues that were raised. Honorable Speaker, it is important to note that CDF has significantly contributed to the development of this country, and more so at the coast where this report, which this report talks about. Honorable Speaker, constituencies that for many years had not been developed have seen development because CDF is there. One of them is the Ganze constituency, which this report reports on. We have seen some level of development there because CDF has been there. The many constituencies in the coast and the coast region generally, if you look at government investment in these constituencies, you'll actually see that it is investment through CDF, and we want to commend the government, and we want to commend the NG-CDF board for the good work. Mr. Speaker, it is also worth noting, although many court cases have been, people have gone to court to challenge CDF, but there's one thing that we can never escape from, that CDF has helped communities in terms of bursaries, Mr. Speaker, in terms of development of schools, in terms of development of police stations, in terms of development of environment, and youth. Today, a youth in a remote area in Ganze or in Kilifi North can have a football, can wear a football jersey, because NGCDF has provided those facilities. Honorable Speaker, I would like to say that the usage of CDF is the matter of this report, how prudent the resources have been used. There are times when we worked with Honorable Pokose and we saw the shame on how members actually implemented CDF projects, where you are told that a school should have been built here, but you go there, there is no school. So I want to ask NGCDF to actually strengthen the audit component so that as NGCDF committees are given money, there is good audit to ensure that the resources are used very well. We have seen, Honorable Speaker, I will tell you, I'll tell this House that my constituency has benefited immensely from CDF, and under my stewardship of CDF, I think we have done a commendable job. We have developed schools, we have developed very good infrastructure for schools, for chiefs, secure for police stations, you know, things that can be seen tangible in terms of development. What I would like to say is to ask governors that are given resources, actually more resources, that through county governments we would like to see more development. But I want to say that, lastly, I want to say that NGCDF has seen families that would not have taken their children to school. Now those children are in school and are retained in school and are able to finish up to Form 4 and are able to actually come home and say, I have qualified, I have a qualification. Kids who have gone to university because of NGCDF. So I would like to ask those litigants, those perpetual litigants who are always running from one courtroom to the other to try to stop CDF, that they need to stop these shenanigans and allow Kenyans to experience the magic of NGCDF. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Baya. Sarah Korere.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I also want to add my voice to this audited reports of the CDF. And I want to take a particular concern, Mr. Speaker, on how these reports sometimes are released to the public, even without this House having a look at it. And Honorable Speaker, sometimes when some things are not verified, and you see a very big column in the newspaper that MPs are stealing from the CDF. And Honorable Speaker, I want to believe there is no sane MP who can steal from the CDF. And Honorable Speaker, as Honorable Bias mentioned, some of the constituencies that have been marginalized over the years have really benefited a great deal from CDF. And Honorable Speaker, I hope even in future or very soon, this House will revise the amount allocated to NGCDF. Because when you come to some of our constituencies, the only trace of development you can see is what NGCDF has done. And NGCDF is a very classical example of what devolution can do, of what devolved funds can do. So, Honorable Speaker, we really wish to reiterate that even as members are grappling this year without the release of NGCDF, I think we should even add more monies to this NGCDF. Mr. Speaker, you know marginalization is real in this country. And when you come to some of our constituencies and some of the places we come from, marginalization has even been devolved. And that is why you hear the likes of Kuria asking for their own county. Even like Laikipia North would want to have our own county. But Honorable Speaker, there is no single constituency in this country that is not benefiting from the NGCDF funds. So, Mr. Speaker, I would really want to add my voice and say we would wish to add the percentage that is being devolved to NGCDF, and I urge my colleagues to be very, very diligent on how to use that NGCDF to make sure that places like Tiati will get more schools, more children go to school, so that we don't manufacture bandits year in, year out. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Didymus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. And I want to say that when you go through these reports by the Auditor General, you cannot doubt every single wording that has been put there, Mr. Speaker. And even as we all agree that NGCDF has done a very good job across this country, some of the audit queries raised, they touches on the competency of the accounting officers who actually fund account managers, Honorable Speaker. And it is very important that when the board recruits fund managers, they should be able to get very competent fund managers, because when these reports comes out and they have got very flimsy audit queries, people think that the member of parliament is to blame for all those audit queries. Yet our role is clearly stated in the law, Honorable Speaker, is to provide oversight. So as a house, we should not, and even I want to challenge the NGCDF committee, that they should also be keen to ensure that any fund manager whose accounts has been audited and that they are very flimsy audit queries raised, such people, they should be put to account, they should be trained further, so that we don't allow the very flimsy audit queries to dent the reputation of the very good impacts that NGCDF is doing. And lastly, Honorable Speaker, we are almost moving to the, we are almost at the tail end of the financial year. We kindly urge Treasury to release the pending money for NGCDF so that even new members of parliament can begin to rubber stamp their entry into political leadership by at least launching projects within their constituency, because as we speak today, Honorable Speaker,
there is nothing they can write home about. And we hope that our economy will quick to improve so that the money can keep flowing and we can continue paying our bursaries for our children, continue building and improving our educational infrastructure for our various schools across this country. And as I finish, Honorable Speaker, I wish that even county governments, they should borrow or live on how NGCDF is managed so that we also don't want to hear of situations where we have pending bills, projects that were abandoned by some previous people, projects that are initiated and they have no impact to the people. With these very few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I wish to support this motion.
Karoli Omondi.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. I write to add my voice, though you've surprised me a little. I thought it would take a longer time, so I'd not crystallized my thoughts.
You are nearly on the top of my screen.
But I think the work that we do with the NGCDF is quite clear, can be seen everywhere. But so far we've had some difficulties implementing most of the projects because of the economic situation of the country. I would just like to add my voice and urge that whatever can be done as soon as possible so that we get all the funding and initiate or commence all the projects we had for this financial year, the better for everybody. I hope it will be done soon so that it doesn't become an obstacle to the business that lies ahead of us, that we all understand how important it is. In fact, I hope it is being prioritized wherever the decision makers are so that the funds would be released as soon as possible to the various constituencies. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Agnes Pareyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to the report, to the auditor's report on NGCDF. And NGCDF is a fund that is really helping in our constituencies. Most of the work that is done in our constituencies are by using these funds from NGCDF. If it were not for these funds, some of our children could be studying under a tree. But because of the NGCDF, they are now able to have classrooms, and our people are benefiting from bursaries. And that's why I stand to support and say that NGCDF is a fund that is being seen in all our constituencies. And through you, Mr. Speaker, I would like to ask the Treasury to release these funds because we have not been able to make use of these funds. And in the report, I think some of the comments that are in the report are not from the members of parliament. And therefore, we need to have competent officers that can be able to manage these funds and do the reports at the right times and do the right things. Because we have officers who are not competent, who come to our constituencies, and sometimes they don't even know what they are doing. So I think it is important for the management to make sure that the officers that we have in our constituencies know what they are doing and are able to account for this money the way it's supposed to be done. So I stand to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Agnes. Before I give the next, I want to allow the chair of the Committee of Budget and Appropriations to table your report and give your notice of motion. I had stayed your order on your request. Are you ready? There you are.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to lay the following paper on the table of the House, Tuesday, 6th June 2023. Report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on its consideration of the estimates of revenue and expenditure for financial year 2023-2024 and the medium term, including a compendium of departmental committee reports on the estimates of revenue and expenditure for financial year 2023-2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Go ahead and give notice of motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to give notice of the following motion, that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on budget estimates for the national government, the judiciary, and parliament for the financial year 2023-2024, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 6th June 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 221 of the Constitution, Section 39 of Public Finance Management Act 2012, and Standing Order 239. A, approves the issuance of sum Kenya shillings 2,308,410,974,957 shillings from the Consolidated Fund to meet the expenditure during the year ending 30th June 2024 in respect of the votes contained in the first schedule, subject to paragraph C, Committee of Supply. B, make the non-financial resolutions as contained in the report. C, makes financial resolution as contained in the second schedule. And D, orders that the Speaker do now leave the chair to facilitate the consideration of the said budget estimates with respect to each vote and program in the Committee of Supply as contemplated under Standing Order 240, consideration of the estimates in the Committee of Supply. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. You can proceed and lay your documents. Now I'll give the floor to Lillian Sioi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this chance. I would also wish to put my input. I would like to say that we need to check on the procurement process, because this is one part that has really affected the NGCDF programs, because it takes time at times to identify the merchant or the contractor, and by the time the work is being awarded to this person, probably takes too long until the project overstays. And as my fellow MP said earlier, you realize that when the project takes too long, at times it might be taken over by another program. So this is one thing that we need to check on. And secondly, I also want to say that this fund has been of great help to the community. But there is one aspect that we've not been taking into consideration, because mostly we go by the number of the electorates in that region. But actually we also need to check on the level of poverty, because when it comes to infrastructure, there are areas that are more developed than others, which makes other MPs look like they're not working, because you realize that most of your parents in those schools are very poor, and the school is depending fully on NGCDF. But other schools, the parents, during their AGM, they sit down and at times they collect good amount of money and also contribute towards putting up some infrastructure, Mr. Speaker. So I would wish to say that when we are allocating, especially when it comes to bursary money, we need to allocate basing on the level of poverty of an area, because these are the students that are really needy, and they need more of bursary than just some allocation for the bursary.
Because at times we give them money for the bursary. For example, you might give each student 5,000, and the school fees is around 40,000. Towards end of the term, that child has been returned home because the parent is not able to raise the balance. And to me, it's like we are not even helping those ones who are purely poor and cannot afford this amount of money. So we need to do some amendments and ensure that those schools that are highly poor are given more money than other schools that are better placed. Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Sioi. Catherine Omanyo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I really looked into the report as well, and any areas that have audit queries, I think it's just a shame, because if there is anything that has left an impact in our regions in Kenya, it is through the NGCDF. Most of the members of parliament have improved socio-economical ways of our people through this fund, and all the people who were maybe hopeless in their lives, through this fund, they can now actually count a blessing because they could see that they can chase their dreams through bursaries, and most of the buildings that look better or in a standard way have been built by this fund. And that is why I was looking at the report, and I'm like, if everybody here, like if we really want Kenya to be equal through this fund, this is one that can make regionally Kenyans to be equal. If you go to Coast or come to Western, you'll find that if it is schools, all the children across the country are being treated the same through the resources that this fund has been enabling the teachers to get, and equipment or buildings that come up. It makes a poor child or a rich child not to be detected easily because of such. So also poverty has been reduced because there are MPs who have built schools in a modern way in a very remote area that you wouldn't even expect a story building in such an area where even Google Map cannot direct you to. So I think we should up our game as the legislatures by making sure that we implement or use this fund appropriately. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, allow me to recognize the following schools. In the public gallery, Kirenga Girls from Lari, Kiambu, Holy Trinity Girls, Kapenguria, West Pokot, Karangare High School, Mbere North, Embu. In the Speaker's Gallery, St. Anne's Kiboko Girls, Kibwesi West, Makueni, Kerugoya Boys High School, Kirinyaga Central, Kirinyaga. On your behalf and on my own behalf, yes, on your behalf and on my own behalf, I want to welcome the students and their teachers to the House of Parliament. Yes, Ruku. If you want to comment on the students, 1 minute.
Students.
Yes, 1 minute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Debate.
I thank you for this opportunity to welcome the students of Karangare Secondary Schools and all the students who are in gallery from different schools for them coming to visit this very distinguished National Assembly. We want to encourage them to work hand so that they can be the leaders of tomorrow of this country, and they have a huge responsibility, and to assure them that the government of the day is very much committed in investing in education so that they can have a bright future. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Innocent Mugabe.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. I would want also to contribute to the report that has been tabled on the audit of CDF funds. One thing I would like to say is that as members, we should really appreciate and take the audit issues seriously, because it is through these audit checks that we'll be able to realize areas of improvement. It is through these audit checks that we'll be able to know best practices that have been used in other places and that can be replicated in other areas. And I would like also to challenge, especially the NGCDF board, that after such reports, we need to have forums to share so that members can also learn on innovative ideas and methodologies that are used in certain areas to get best results. So audit checks are very important, and they should not be used for witch hunt, but should be used to help improve on our ways of delivering to the people. On this same matter of NGCDF, Honorable Speaker, we've seen a lot of people have talked about very positive issues or very positive aspects on this NGCDF fund. Madam Speaker, these funds have clearly displayed that it is one of the best systems or structures in implementing projects at the grassroots level. And it has shown, or we've witnessed, that is actually working. And if something is working and is good and is working for the better of the people of this country, the only best thing to do on it is to improve it. And we've had a number of suggestions on how to improve this particular fund because its effect is felt at the very grassroots level. And on that, I also want to add my voice in it, that this is one of the funds that should be expanded. We need to increase the percentage of funds that goes to NGCDF because it has been proved beyond any reasonable doubt that actually these funds work and these funds work for the people. When you compare NGCDF projects with even national government projects or county government projects, you will find that there's a lot of efficacy on implementation of NGCDF projects compared to others. There is better utilization of public funds through NGCDF as compared to others. So, Madam Speaker, I want to add my voice that this is one fund that should be enhanced. This is one fund that we need to use the system and the structure that is there, capacity build the board, capacity build the fund managers, and help to devolve most of these funds, most of the government funds or government projects through NGCDF. On another level, if we do this right, through this system and structures of constituency level, we'll find that members of parliament will have a lot of autonomy in terms of decision making, in terms of representing their people, because they will have proper distribution of development across the country. We will not need to be coerced to make sometimes unpopular decisions in order to get development projects because we already have those projects at the grassroots. And we will have now proper representation of our people. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I beg to support. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Mombasa County, Honorable Zamzam Chimba.
Asante sana, Madam Speaker. Naomba niweze kuunga mkono mjadala huu wa leo na niweze kusema NGCDF ni kwa kweli imesaidia wananchi wetu hasa kwenye kujengewa mashule, kuangaliwa barabara za ndani na mambo mengi sana. Na mimi ningependa kusema hivi. Pengine leo tuzungumzie NGCDF peke yake, lakini Madam Speaker, wewe ukiwa pale kwenye kiti uko kwenye ngafu na pia tuweze kusukuma na mambo yetu pia ya ngafu. Mgao huu wa CDF umeweza kusaidia sehemu kubwa sana, na kile ambacho naweza kusema ni kuwa Nimezunguka hasa katika kaunti yangu ya Mombasa, na ningependa kusema pengine wana upungufu mahali, manake utapata hata hizi skuli wamejenga na kuna zingine hazina hata zile perimeter wall. Kwa hiyo mimi ningependa kusema hivi, msaada umetokea mkubwa sana katika NGCDF, lakini waweze kuangalia ule mkono kama waweza ukavuka kidogo, ili waweze kusaidika zaidi. Hata kama mtu anajenga skuli, basi aweke na ile perimeter wall. Kwa mfano nimekuwa katika Jomvu High School, Jomvu Secondary, na ni skuli kubwa, lakini wale ni watoto wa kike pale, hawana hata ile fence, perimeter wall hakuna, na ni boarding school. Kwa hiyo mimi napenda kusema hivi, pengine, na nilivyokuwa pale mwalimu mkuu aliniambia kuwa kulikuwa na lalama kuwa pesa hazikuweza kutosha, zimetosha kidogo kidogo ya kujenga zile dormitories na skuli kidogo, laboratory pia wanahitaji zingine, na wamelia sana kuwa wao wako katika hali hatari ya kuweza kuingiliwa wakati wowote. Kwa hiyo mimi na support mjadala huu, ila nasema hawa wabunge nao pia waongezewe. Na sisi kina mama wangafu pia, manake huwa ikitajwa NGCDF wabunge, mimi na waombeni sisi tukiwapigia upato hapa, na nyinyi pia muangalie kina mama wa kaunti 47 kuwa pia mgao wetu unakuja kwa wakati, manake mpaka sasa na sisi hatujapata mgao na hali ziko tata kule mashinani. Kuna mambo ambayo tunataka kufanya kama kina mama wa kaunti 47, lakini mgao haujakuja, licha ya kuwa mgao wenyewe ni mdogo sana. Kwa hiyo na support mjadala huu. Asante sana Madam Speaker.
Member for Gilgil, Honorable Martha Wangari.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also rise to support this report and agree with members that NGCDF is one of the models that actually is held not only in the country, but across the globe and the continent, Madam Speaker. Just recently, we were hosting the Zambia delegation led by the Speaker, Madam Speaker, and the one thing that they were keen to learn and implement in their country was that they wanted to ensure they have a model like CDF, and they are trying to craft that law guided by the NGCDF Act because it is a trailblazer in this area, Madam Speaker. I want to join my colleagues to note that the issues that are seen in the constituencies and in the counties, Madam Speaker, it is mostly NGCDF work that is even more visible than what is even being done by the counties, Madam Speaker. If you compare the over 380 billion that goes to the counties, the output it gets, and the just below 50 billion that goes to the 290 constituencies and the work it has done, Madam Speaker, you will see that this fund is actually what is needed in the grassroots and in our constituencies, Madam Speaker. I want to note, Madam Speaker, like for the new constituencies, like Gilgil, which was a part of Naivasha a while back, Madam Speaker, we never used to see the development and the growth we are able to see today. Right now, that constituency can boast of a technical training institute, courtesy of CDF, can boast of many schools being centers of excellence, many students being educated through the bursaries, many chiefs, many police officers being housed because of the CDF. So, Madam Speaker, the issue and the need for CDF cannot be gainsaid, Madam Speaker. But I also want to note that we also have to be very keen from the recruitment of all the accounting officers. We also have to be keen in the recruitment of the audit officers, Madam Speaker, so that it does not become witch hunt. Because we will see a fund manager dealing with internal auditors this week, next week they have external auditors, the other week they have Kenao. So we also must be brave enough to root out the corrupt audit officers in that system, Madam Speaker, so that it is not used as a witch hunt for members of parliament. It is not used as a political tool to actually embarrass any county, but to get output and to get that streamlined, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to end it there and say that we are pushing to get these CDF monies released, but we also must look at the law to ensure that the 5% that have been proposed can be achieved. And more importantly, Madam Speaker, we must get to a level, and this maybe the Senate or ourselves can do, Madam Speaker, to streamline the counties and the way they learn, to get a formula for the county funding that we take to the counties, so that we are able to know what percentage goes to personnel and what percentage goes to development. Because what is happening right now is that under the PFM Act, it stipulates that not more than 30% should go to, not more than 70% should go to salaries and personnel. But what is really happening is that many counties are not able to allocate even 30% of the money to development, Madam Speaker. We must get to a point where we will put a certain percentage to go to health, a certain percentage to go to roads, a certain percentage to go to water, and cover all the devolved functions the same way we do with the CDF, so that we know how much goes to sports, how much goes to education, how much goes to security. That is all stipulated, Madam Speaker. So I hope the counties can be able to borrow a leaf from how CDF is done. But Madam Speaker, with that, I wish to support, and allow me to also agree with the Speaker that as we improve this chamber, and I want to thank the clerk, because I think when we were during the recess, we find it looking even better, and there is some very nice wordings at the door. It's very good work, and I hope we can be able to improve the signing in and the card system, as the Speaker says, so that we are able to follow and we avoid the issue of members putting a card, leaving and not talking to an issue, so that we are able to separate the two, as the Speaker has guided. So I thank you, and I thank you for the opportunity, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
The Honorable Ken Chonga, member for Kilifi South.
Thank you, Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Madam Speaker, CDF is historical. It has its own history as to why it's there. The successive governments sat down and realized the need to come up with this fund. To be very honest, if we talk about how we have been able to bridge development enclaves in constituencies, or rather in regions of the country, I think that is where CDF has excelled most. Everybody is aware of how many people have had it so difficult to go to school prior to CDF was introduced. And also, there are those who have been celebrating since CDF was introduced. Indeed, as much as there have been
the petition to the relevant committee for its consideration. In this case, I direct that the petition be committed to the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. In terms of Standing Order 238-2, the committee is required in not more than 60 calendar days from the time of reading this prayer to respond to the petitioner by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and laid on the table of the Senate. I thank you. The Chairperson, Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare, to present a report on the petition. Yes, kindly, Senator Arnold.
Speaker, thank you, and I am guided by your direction on the matter of Kwanza and TSC. Speaker, I just want to plead with you to find it okay, the Speaker, to just open a window. Even if just one member from that side and a member from this side, matters of education and teachers, and especially TSC, are very touchy issues. And they are affecting a section of an entire county where members have been drafted into a union without their consent. Could you just reconsider, Mr. Speaker, if you will, and just open a window for a comment or two from honorable members. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I'm afraid, Senator Wambua, I may not be in a position to allow comments on this. Owing to the, if you look at the order paper, you'll agree with me that one of your bills has been with us since the day I was sworn in. Reason we have expended a lot of time on petitions and statements. Today, we want to reach you. And the only way to reach you is to make sure that we do not allow comments. Instead, we commit this petition to the relevant committee. So in all fairness, I'm at pain looking at your bill appearing like a fixture in the order paper. And I think we need to make deliberate efforts to reach this business today. And that is the reason why we have restricted comments. Chairperson, Labour, kindly proceed.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for allowing me to table this report, petition by Mr. James Ruiru, Katonga, and residents of Lamu, Baringo, and Nairobi counties concerning Linda Soccer tapping into the Kenya shillings 302 billion football economy. I table.
Next order, clerk. Next order, clerk.
Order number 5, papers.
The majority leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of this Senate. Today, the 6th of June, the year of our Lord 2023. Being, Mr. Speaker, 1, report of the Auditor General on the financial statements of the Kericho municipality for the year ended 30th of June 2020. Reports of the Auditor General for the year ended 30th of June 2021 on the financial statements of the following: Kericho municipality, Tana River County Inuka Fund, Siaya County Emergency Fund, and Kakamega County Emergency Fund. 3, Mr. Speaker, reports of the Auditor General of the year ended 30th of June 2022 on the financial statements of the following: 1, Kericho municipality, Kericho County Assembly Members Car and Mortgage Scheme Fund, the Tana River County Inuka Fund, the Tana River County Inuka Fund, the Tana River County Staff Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme Fund, the Siaya County Emergency Fund, the Kakamega County Agricultural Inputs Fund, the Receiver of Revenue, revenue statements of the County Government of Busia, the Samburu County Assembly Car Loan and Mortgage Fund, the Bungoma County Assembly Members Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme Fund, the Mantera Municipality, the Receiver of Revenue and revenue statements of the County Government of Kisumu, the Receiver of Revenue, revenue statements of the County Government of Turkana, the Kibwesi Makindu Water and Sanitation Company Limited, the Receiver of Revenue for the County Government of Kisii, Gusii Water and Sanitation Company Limited, County Revenue for Fund for the County Government of Kwale, Receiver of Revenue for the County Government of Kwale, County Executive of Migori, Migori County Executive Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme Fund, Migori County Assembly, Receiver of Revenue for the County Government of Migori, Migori County Ward Development Fund, Migori County Alcoholic Drinks Control Fund, Awendo Municipality, Taita Taveta County Executive Staff Car Loan and Mortgage Scheme Revolving Fund, Taita Taveta County Assembly Mortgage for Members Scheme Fund, Receiver of Revenue for the County Government of Taita Taveta, Taita Taveta County Emergency Fund, Taveno Water and Sewerage Company Limited, Taita Taveta Education Fund Board, and finally, but not least, Mr. Speaker, Taita Taveta County Datu Sawazisha Fund. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I lay the papers.
the Chairperson, Finance and Budget Committee.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to lay the following report on the table of the Senate today, the 6th of June, report of the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the Prompt Payment Bill, 2022, Senate Bill number 8, 2022.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Now, these are statements pursuant to Standing Order 53. Again, the directive that I've given when the petition was read, in these statements, once you've read out your statement, it will be committed to the relevant committee. We are therefore not going to have any comments. The only statement that I will allow maybe 6 interventions, 3 from the government side and 3 from the opposition side, is the statement number 2, the one by Senator for Nandi County that touches on MCAs. So I will proceed to call Senator Kathuri Murungi to seek his statement.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I request for a statement on the alarmingly high transfer of teachers at KK Mukaramatu Primary School in Meru County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education on the alarmingly high transfer of teachers at KK Mukaramatu Primary School in Karama Ward, Tigani constituency, and other schools in Meru County. In the statement, the committee should, 1, state the reasons for high number of transfers sought by teachers in schools in Meru County, particularly at KK Mukaramatu Primary School in Karama Ward in Tigani East constituency. And 2, state plans, if any, by the government to deploy teachers to address the shortage in the affected schools. And number 3, explain the rationale for denying teachers in Meru County and shape allowance, noting that their counterparts in the neighboring county of Isiolo receive the allowance, further clarifying whether the government intends to introduce the allowance for teachers in the county. Thank you.
Senator Chirangai, proceed to request your statement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 53.1 to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Finance and Budget on the slashing, on the slashing of salaries and allowances for the members of county assemblies MCAs in the financial year 2022-2023. In the statement, Mr. Speaker, sir, the committee should state reasons. As you are aware, Mr. Speaker, the reasons for the reduction of members of county assembly salaries, Mr. Speaker, the removal, as you are aware, Mr. Speaker, for the benefit of the committee or the House, the President earns 1.4 million, Mr. Speaker, the Deputy earns 1.2, Speaker of the Senate and National Assembly earns 1.16, Deputy Speakers earn 928,000, Governors earn 924,000, Deputy Governors earn 621,250,000. Senators and members of National Assembly earn 710,000. Mr. Speaker, county executive CECs earn 404,250 shillings. The lowest paid being the MCS, who earn 86,625. Mr. Speaker, the removal of the sitting allowances, car grants, and mileage allowance since 2022 to date. So, Speaker, number 2, state whether there is an engagement between the County Assemblies Forum and Salaries and Remuneration Commission with a view to reinstate salary terms and allowances for all members of county assemblies in the financial year of 2023-2024. Mr. Speaker, number 3, state the amount of public funds allocated to the office of the MCS for the remuneration of their staff in 2022-2023, the financial year that is coming to an end. Finally, Mr. Speaker, sir, with your indulgence, disclose the budget allocation for capacity building initiatives undertaken by county governments for staff in the office, by the county governments or county assemblies for staff in the office of the member of county assembly or the MCS in the last 3 years, stating measures, if any, to ensure continuous capacity building of staff in the office of the member of county assemblies or MCS across the country from financial year 2023-2024. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the indulgence.
Senator Wambua.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to comment on the statement brought by the Senator of Nandi on the welfare of members of the county assemblies in this republic. Mr. Speaker, maybe just 2 things. We all agree that MCAs are at the bottom of the pyramid when it comes to carrying out oversight responsibilities. In fact, the courts have pronounced themselves on the important role played by members of county assemblies, that they undertake primary oversight, including vetting of officers recruited by their respective county governments. The Speaker, to expect that a member of the county assembly will earn 86,000 Kenya shillings and then recruit ministers in the county governments who earn 400,000 shillings, the Speaker, is laughable. To expect that members of the county assemblies will oversight governors who are controlling billions of shillings, the Speaker, is to expect too much from our MCAs. In fact, if you ask me, the Speaker, what we should have done is to increase the salaries and allowances of our MCAs to equip them properly for purposes of undertaking primary oversight. The Speaker, devolution will either succeed or fail in county assemblies. And the success or failure of devolution will be directly related to the amounts of monies that we give to MCAs, not just as salaries, but as allowances to carry out their responsibilities. The Speaker, the last thing I want to say about these members of the county assemblies is that I hope after we are done with this statement, because we follow it where it goes, I hope the Senator for Nandi, and I know he's capable of doing this, will take a step forward and move this statement from just a conversation around salaries and allowances to MCAs to a situation where we begin to apply our minds and our debate on the, what do you call it? You call it the World Development Fund, and agree what proportion of the money that goes to governors should be allocated to specific wards to enable our MCAs to be able to carry out proper oversight. So, Speaker, I thank the Senator of Nandi for coming up with this statement. These days, the Speaker, the Senator of Nandi is doing a good job. He's trying to endear himself with his people, which is a good thing. I thank the Speaker.
Senator Aaron Cheriot.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I join my colleague Senator Wambua in congratulating Senator Cherargei for bringing to the Senate a very topical issue, a conversation that is going on, unfortunately, in the wrongest places, Mr. Speaker. I've seen our brothers and sisters in the county assembly try to persecute this point in funerals, weddings, churches. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, you know Kenyans are Kenyans. There's no day a Kenyan will ever expect an extra coin to go to the pocket of any politician. Yet, at the end of the day, even after that function, immediately after they have told the Mheshimiwa, we cannot add you a coin, you'll find a few following him and saying, please spray us, we want to go home. They are just like these members of parliament who are opposed to the finance bill, Mr. Speaker. On one mouth, they are saying we are opposed to the finance bill. On the other one, please, we want to see better roads and development in our county. Mr. Speaker, sir, this conversation is better had in the devolution committee, where you can reason as adults, Mr. Speaker. Let SRC come and explain before this House, Mr. Speaker, what was the justification for this finding, Mr. Speaker, because it is grossly out of order, Mr. Speaker. It's unfair to expect that our county assemblies will perform their constitutional mandate, Mr. Speaker, and be the bodies and the organs that Kenyans envision when they pass the 2010 constitution, while being paid a paltry 80,000, Mr. Speaker. While at the same time, you have denied them car grants, you have removed their sitting allowance, just like they did for members of this House, Mr. Speaker. At least, what I know, Mr. Speaker, is that given the fact that members of parliament are slightly paid better, they can survive. But imagine as a member of county assembly who wakes up in the village with a queue of 10 to 20 citizens expecting you to sort a few of their problems, as is a tradition in this country, Mr. Speaker, with a paltry 86,000. So what will members of county assembly do, Mr. Speaker? They'll have to find creative ways of surviving, some of which involve, unfortunately, undermining the very duty for which they were elected, Mr. Speaker. That's why you find county assembly members have turned into choir masters for governors, Mr. Speaker. It's not their wish. If they were properly compensated, if we ensured, even as Senate, that we gave the necessary support to our county assemblies, Mr. Speaker, ensure that we enable them, increased their ceiling, Mr. Speaker. Comparatively, Mr. Speaker, we need to undertake a study and establish what is it. Our allocation this term, Mr. Speaker, is 40 billion, this financial year, rather, the coming financial year, as Parliament, is 40 billion Kenya shillings in a budget of close to 3 trillion. What are the ceilings that we have put in our various county assemblies? And you know the politics that goes with it. How many, you know the fight, Mr. Speaker, that came about until we did an amendment to the PFM, Mr. Speaker, separating the accounts of county assemblies with those of the executive. Members of county assembly, unfortunately, have gone through very difficult times. And it's until petitions are brought to this House, Mr. Speaker, that they benefit from some of these things. I recall, Mr. Speaker, in our first term of this House, Mr. Speaker, where MCAs appeared before the Devolution Committee, then serving as a member, and informed us of how difficult it was back then serving when they served under a unified account together with that of the executive. There are governors who would even delay salaries of individual members of county assembly because of either they support or they don't support the activities, Mr. Speaker. We don't want to take the county assemblies down that route. Lynn Mengich, the chairperson of SRC, Mr. Speaker, must come before the Devolution Committee. Let them give us their justification. This is not it is not about the earning or the well-being of MCAs. This is about devolution, Mr. Speaker. This is about devolution. Therefore, I expect, Mr. Speaker, that the Devolution Committee will lead us into having a structured conversation so that eventually we can right what is grossly wrong, Mr. Speaker, to our members of County Assembly. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mazaya.
Asante Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, cha kwanza tunataka kusema ni kwamba nataka kumshukuru sana ndugu yetu Cherargei, seneta wa Nandi. Bwana Spika, ukiangalia kitu cha kwanza ni kwamba kama kuna maaskari ama kama kuna wale tunaita first hand soldiers wa devolution wa serikali ya ugatuzi, hakuna wengine bali ni wale members wa county assembly zetu. Bwana Spika, bila hao hakuna devolution, kwa sababu hao ndio wanadeal na watu directly. Hata afadhali sisi tukienda kule itakuwa baadaye, kwamba tumelei policy hapa alafu tunaenda kule baadaye. Lakini kama kuna watu ambao wanatakana kuangaliwa vilivyo na serikali za ugatuzi ni wale wabunge wetu wa katika zile county zetu, county assemblies. Bwana Spika, ni jambo la kusikitisha, ni jambo la aibu kuona kwamba ile jopo la Mengichi ambalo linahusikana na mishahara linazembea kwa upande wake. Hatujui ni kwa sababu gani, wala hatujaambiwa sababu, wala hatujui ni kwa sababu gani. Lakini ukiangalia hata ile mishahara, ni jambo la kusikitisha leo ukiona wale wanaopanga mambo ya mishahara kuweza kumpatia MCA kila mwezi mshahara wake kama shilingi 80,000 ama ikifika mwisho 1,120. Bwana Spika, alafu uangalie wale ambao wameandikwa ndani ya county kama mawaziri ambao hawakuchaguliwa na wananchi, ambao hawajui hata kutafuta kura moja. Wao wamependelewa, wamepewa maofisi na wale magavana ambao wako pale. Wamepewa magari, wamepewa bodyguard, wamepewa maofisi, wamepewa masekretari, wanapikiwa chai saa 4, na wale watu ambao walitafuta kura kutoka kwa wananchi ambao ni ma MCA. Lakini ukiangalia tofauti zao ni kwamba yule aliyepewa kazi pale kwa ofisi akapewa chai, akapewa gari, akaambiwa yeye kazi yake itakuwa kuzunguka kwenda kutafuta ama kuangalia kulinganisha na ile wizara ambao yeye yuko anaitwa kama waziri ama CEC. Unapata ya kwamba yeye anapata 400,000 mara 4 ama mara 5 zaidi ya MCA. Hii ni makosa na hii ni dhambi. Huyu anaitwa Mengichi, ni umuhimu aje hapa tuwe na date na yeye. Nataka kumwambia kabisa kinaga ubaga ya kwamba aliyofanya ni madhambi kwa MCAs. Ikizidi sana inatakana wale mawaziri ama ma CECs wao ndio wapate 80,000 na wale ma MCA wapate 400,000. Bwana Spika, madhambi kama haya hatuwezi kuruhusu hapa ndani. Na mimi naunga mkono seneta wangu Cherargei, ndugu yangu wa Nandi, kwa kuleta hili swala hapa. Asante sana Bwana Spika.
Senator Kathuria Murungi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to wade into this matter. Honorable Speaker, this body called Salaries and Remuneration Commission actually should be disbanded with immediate effect. You know, Honorable Speaker, this commission sits almost thrice per month. And what they review, you fail to understand. Why do they meet every week, every month to review? Because once you review the salary for officers, then that's it. So unless then, if I can see senators have mercy with this body, maybe why can they be just temporary or just to meet twice or thrice per year, Honorable Speaker? The allowances that they draw are in excess of 40,000 per meeting. And then when the MCA sits in a county assembly to execute his mandate, elected by members of the public, they 108 even 3,000 shillings, Honorable Speaker. So this is hypocrisy, which started when Sarah Serem was the chair. And we battled with her when I was in the other house. Now the new chair came in. We thought she would be better, but now I think she is worse. That is why I didn't support the sentiments by my colleagues that this SRC chair and her board should appear before this house so that we can ask them hard questions. And that shouldn't be just an open forum so that every senator can be able to express him or herself. Mr. Speaker, the salary of MCAs, 8,000, is a slam on their face. These are members elected just like us. They are legislators, they do oversight. And
Senator
also,
Kathuri, there is a point of information. Would you wish to be informed?
Yeah, my uncle can inform me, Senator for Kitui. I think he has good intentions. Yes, yes,
Thank you, the Speaker. The Speaker, I just want to inform my brother, the Senator for Meru. It's actually my uncle. Don't dispute that. That, Mr. Speaker, maybe actually the thing to do will be to ask the Committee on Devolution not to hear that matter at committee level, but to make it a matter of the Committee of the Whole, so that every senator comes here and deals with that matter. Thank
Senator Wambua, are you contributing or you're informing Senator Kathur? Because I don't see any information there. Proceed, Senator Kathur.
Actually, Honorable Speaker, I made that recommendation that this matter should be a matter handled by the whole House. A committee of the whole, which I will chair that day, Honorable Speaker, because I chairs the committee of the whole, be the chair that day, so that we can really hammer these people properly. So, Mr. Speaker, I was saying the MCAs are registrators like us, they oversight, and also they represent the people in their respective ones. Actually, to me, their minimum salary should be not less than 500,000, so that they can be able to move. They should also be given car grants and also mileage allowance, so that they can be able to move. Mr. Speaker, if devolution will succeed in Kenya, it will succeed through empowering MCAs and empowering the Senate. Those are the only two institutions which will be able to take care of the billions which we disburse to the counties. That is why it is very, very important for the senators to have oversight fund, so that they can be able also to work in the many constituencies that we serve, Mr. Speaker. So we have no apologies to make, and I wish even this is a matter of national importance, Honorable Speaker. This should really be handled properly. And Mr. Speaker, I don't want to emphasize on this matter, but it is a matter really that MCAs are suffering. Today I saw Nakuru County Assembly has been closed definitely. The others which they have closed because of these issues on salaries. So, Mr. Speaker, as we speak here, county assemblies are closing shops because they say they cannot be able even to move to the assembly. So they have suspended their activities. So, Honorable Rekina, you know you pursue other things. On this one, this is now a bipartisan matter on MCs. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are not strangers to why we amended the Constitution to create county governments. And Mr. Speaker, it appears like the two ladies who have sat in this office had a brief from where to ensure that it fails. The moment they have come in, they have pretended that they understand devolution to the extent that the senator of Nairobi, who has got 17 constituencies under him, and the senator of Kakamega and Kiambu, who have 12 constituencies apiece under us, we are supposed to be rated at the same level with one MP in one of the constituencies. This arrogance, Mr. Speaker, is the one which they have taken to county assemblies. The way they belittle senators, they are belittling MCAs. Mr. Speaker, a chef in a five-star hotel in Nairobi earns 87,000 shillings. A chef, a cook, 87,000 shillings. And an MCA earns 86. How many hotels do you have in a ward where an MCA presides over? Mr. Speaker, an MCA earns 86 and a principal of a high school in this country earns 190,000 shillings. How many high schools do we have in a ward represented by an MCA? Mr. Speaker, the issue of traveling allowance, to move from Munavi in Matungu constituency to the other end of Kakamega in Moisbridge, it is 200 kilometers. The MCA has to drive from his home in Moisbridge to Kakamega town 130 kilometers and he can't make a claim. Mr. Speaker, MCAs have been reduced into running away from their homes. They don't sleep at home because when people come in the morning, they have no money to spend on them. Mr. Speaker, the MCA of Sheye Ward, in Kakamega County has a ward which has got a bigger voting population than 20% of all the constituencies of Kenya. That kind of person cannot represent people. Mr. Speaker, we just have to come out. We are lucky we are in the Senate. We are not unlucky like them. We have the highest platform in the country. Let us do all that it will take, up to and including, Mr. Speaker, as the Chief Whip, I want to speak. We can choose to take a position that we are not going to pass a critical bill like the Division of Revenue Bill until the welfare of MCAs is addressed. And if the government thinks that MCAs are important, pay them. And if you don't think they are important, remove that category so that we know how to deal with the problem. Mr. Speaker, I'm not speaking from theory. I hosted the 90 MCAs of Kakamega County in my home in Marinya. Yes. And Mr. Speaker, they told me that there is something they are crying for called financial autonomy. We want our county assemblies to have financial autonomy so they are not captured by governors. We sit here, we divide money between constituencies, between counties, the Kara bill. After we make the law, the governors then start treating that money as theirs. Yes. They do not want to make the MCAs comfortable in terms of discharging their duties. Members, let us not fall to the prey of being set up against members of the National Assembly. Yes. Let us move together with members of the National Assembly to ensure that the welfare of all of us is well taken. And I can assure you, if you send Honorable Cheruyot here to the President with a properly argued issue, I can assure you President William Ruto, who is a hustler like all of us, is going to support it, and we are going to make sure that our MCAs are well off. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Onyonka, you know, I'm not called you up. You're out of order. You're totally out of order, and I'll give you the caution, the first caution of the day. Senator Ojenda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Let me have this opportunity to contribute to the statement by my learned friend, Senator Cherargei. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have 1,450 MCAs in this country, out of which 772 are nominated. So I think as we contribute to this motion, we must be alive to the implications of any increase of wages or salaries to the economy of this country. And I'm sure that the leader of majority and the leader of minority, and even Mr. Cherargei, know that part of the reasons, or one of the reasons why this House has been struggling and fighting with the National Assembly over the funding of this House is because of the question of resources. Some of the contributions that are here in this House by Senator, the whip, the majority whip, are fairly populist. Yes. They seem to appeal to the members of County Assembly, but I think ignore the crux of the question as to whether these assemblies undertake oversight. The reason advanced, Mr. Speaker, sir, this afternoon is that these assemblies are unable to undertake oversight because they earn a paltry 86,000. Of importance, Mr. Speaker, sir, is that members of these county assemblies, most of the members of these county assemblies have gone to bed with the executive and are unable to undertake oversight as contemplated by Article 176 of the Constitution that creates county governments. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am aware in my county, for instance, that some of the members of the county assemblies sit in over 13 committees and are therefore unable to undertake oversight. We are alive, Mr. Speaker, sir, to the fact that members of the County Assembly are required to do primary oversight. Senate should do secondary oversight. But I think we are at a point where we are actually undertaking primary oversight because our county assemblies are unable to undertake primary oversight. Mr. Speaker, sir, a salary alone or money alone is not the only factor that will equip members of the county assembly with the capacity to undertake oversight. I am alive to the fact that Section 22(1)(c) of the Elections Act number 24 of 2011 had proposed that MCAs be equipped with the sufficient academic qualifications to undertake oversight. And that is why the proposal was that at the third election, MCAs would have at least a minimum degree qualification to be elected. And I believe, Mr. Speaker, sir, this is a point that this Senate should push in as much as we are pushing for better salaries. Let us also push for quality members of County Assembly who understand issues, who can defend devolution, but who also are able to stand up to the executive. Let us not just talk about giving money to MCAs, some of whom do not understand the role of oversight, nay, the constitution of this country. So it is important, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we call a spade, Senator Cherargei, and ensure that we have quality MCAs elected to the houses. Mr. Speaker, sir, I support in part the need to have better salaries. But let us also have capacity.
Can the senator be heard in silence, please?
Yes. Please, I am teaching the law. Please listen to me. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mr. Speaker, sir, the spirit, the Elections Act ought to be put in effect. Mr. Speaker, sir, and I am the advocate who went to court to stop degree qualifications. I'll also remind you that I did that then, and I got orders to allow MCAs who do not have degrees to be elected in the last election. But today I'm saying that perhaps it is time at the next election that we get MCAs who have degrees to be elected so that they can do oversight. But Mr. Speaker, sir, let me support Senator Alwale on the question of independence, on the question of the division of revenue bill, so that when monies are taken to the counties, let the executive not ride roughshod over the county assemblies. Because county assembly leadership, that is leader of majority, leader of minority, go to bed with the executive so as to get favors. They go to bed with the executive so that they can get favors, and therefore that undermines devolution and the entire intent of county government, Mr. Speaker, sir. So I support in part, but I say let the good salaries come with an obligation. Let the good salaries also come with a duty on the part of MCAs. Otherwise, we will add money to a marauding crowd that will not undertake oversight. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Mungatana.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also say something. Mr. Speaker, on Saturday, we had a Thanksgiving ceremony for the Deputy Speaker of the County of Tana River, who is the only elected lady, Honorable Rhoda Katisha. Mr. Speaker, that function was attended by very many members of the County Assembly, led by the Deputy Majority Leader Ahmed Darwesh. One of the things that kept on coming in every speech of every member of the County Assembly, Mr. Speaker, is that they are facing extremely difficult circumstances. Mr. Speaker, there is no escaping it. Even if you run away from your area, nowadays fundraisings have gone through, they have gone what? Online. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. So they are saying in every fundraiser for funerals, and our funerals are many, you are put in there and you are supposed to contribute. And the contribution you make as an honorable member of the county assembly, when you make a small contribution, the people come to ask you, Mheshimiwa, is this the only one that you can manage? And Mr. Speaker, this is a reality they are living with every single day. Mr. Speaker, I really want to support this statement by the Honorable Cherargei. Let us have a relook. But I want to remind the House, Mr. Speaker, that for those of us who have been around for many years, you remember that Honorable Peter Olo Oringo, he is the one who actually championed the independence of members of parliament to be where we are today. And it was because of his efforts that we ended up with an independent commission that is able to fight for our rights. Mr. Speaker, I wanted us not to forget this fact, not to forget paying tribute to those who went before us. Mr. Speaker, the way to go for these honorable members of county assembly is not for us to leave it to the whims and the decisions of the SRC alone. We must have a strong body that is going to establish the standards and payments for these people. It must be a constitutional body so that these people can serve our people at their level without financial embarrassment. I submit, Mr. Speaker, we should support this petition by the Honorable Cherargei. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Faki.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika pia kunipa fursa hii kuongezea kauli yangu juu ya taarifa iliyoletwa bungeni na Senator Cherargei, Senator wa Nandi. Mheshimiwa Spika, masaibu yanayokumba wabunge wa kaunti zetu ni masaibu ambayo ni ya kusikitisha. Ikikumbukwa kwamba ugatuzi ulikuja kuleta tofauti baina ya mabaraza ya miji yalikuwa na hudumu wakati wa nyuma na mfumo mpya wa kiserikali ambao unatumika katika nchi yetu ya Kenya. Mheshimiwa Spika, marupurupu anayopata Mheshimiwa Spika ni machache sana kulingana na hali ya maisha ilivyo, hususan kwa wale ambao wako katika miji mikubwa na wale pia ambao katika miji midogo midogo. Mheshimiwa Spika, tukiangalia kwa mfano katika kaunti ya Mombasa, Mheshimiwa Spika, wabunge hawa wa bunge la kaunti ya Mombasa wanahitajika kupata ofisi, wanahitajika kupata nyumba ambazo zinastahili hadhi yao, na nyumba hizi haziwezi kukodishwa Mheshimiwa Spika bila ya pesa. Kwa hivyo yale marupurupu wanayopata Mheshimiwa Spika hayawezeshi kuweza kukabiliana na maisha kisawasawa, na ndio mara nyingi wanapatikana wakihujumu kazi zao kupitia kwa ile ruzuku ndogo ndogo wanazopata kutoka kwa wakuu wa kaunti. Mheshimiwa Spika, japokuwa sheria ilibadilishwa na ikawa fedha za county assembly na fedha za county executive ziko mbalimbali, lakini bado Mheshimiwa Spika utapata kwamba waziri ama mwanakamati ambaye anahusika na mambo ya fedha wa county husika anahujumu utendakazi wa bunge la county, kwa sababu pesa zinavyokuja kutoka kwa mfuko wa serikali kuu sizo ambazo zinakwenda katika kulipa mishahara au kulipa marupurupu ya member wa county assembly. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, ipo haja ya kubadilisha ama kurekebisha sheria ya fedha, yani PFM Act, kuhakikisha kwamba hawa bunge la county lina fedha zake mbali na zile fedha ambazo ziko katika bunge katika serikali ya county, kwa sababu serikali ya county mara nyingi wakiitisha pesa Mheshimiwa Spika wanapunguziwa ama wanatolewa pesa kidogo kidogo ili kuhakikisha kwamba kazi zao zinahujumiwa. Kwa hiyo Mheshimiwa Spika, nakubaliana na wenzangu wametoa kauli kwamba swala hili lizungumzwe na bunge zima, kauli nzima ya bunge hili liweze kuzamia swala hili ili wabunge wetu wa kaunti za assembly waweze kupata marupurupu ya kisawasawa, na vile vile pia SRC Mheshimiwa Spika wapewe onyo kwamba kupunguza marupurupu haya kuna hujumu ugatuzi katika nchi yetu. Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa kunipa fursa hii.
Senator Roba. And while Senator Roba is making his comments, kindly may the two whips approach the chair, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to support this statement shared by Senator Cherargei. All of us in this house come from different background and different experience. I was privileged to have participated in 3 elections alongside these county assembly members, MCAs. And the MCAs go through hell for them to get elected into the office as an MCA, particularly in areas that I come from. And the issue is SRC may act and make decisions behind a desk without having reality of what MCAs undergo. It's very easy for SRC to be able to say, for them to remain relevant, let's reduce for the functional responsibility of SRC to be seen that they're doing something. But the reality is these grassroots leaders are really suffering, and they are the first contact with the public. They are the people that live with the public. They're the people who stay with the public. They're the people that the first problem affecting the public faces every time. And for SRC to have made an unfortunate decision just before the last general election to reduce drastically the remuneration that is meant for members of county assemblies is an extremely unfortunate, extremely arrogant.
Cherargei, kindly take your seat, sir. And Senator Mazayo. Senator Mazayo, take your seat. The Senator for Kilifi.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, for SRC to have made a decision just before the last general election, arbitrarily behind a desk without knowing the reality that MCAs undergo, and slash the allowances as well as the remuneration meant for MCAs drastically, out of sheer ignorance and lack of reality of what MCAs undergo in terms of even vying for that political seat. They are being the first grassroots leaders that problems of our constituents face. It's very unfortunate. I want to thank Senator Cherargei for raising to the occasion to bring this issue to the light. The Senate mandate is protection of devolution. In that devolution, there are 2 structures, the executive and the assembly. The assembly is under siege. As I'm aware, and we've been made aware, over 12 county assemblies have already closed shop. And that should create an air of emergency around the speed with which as the Senate need to deal with this issue, because SRC must be forced to come back to reality of looking at the role of county assembly member. What do they undergo for them to be elected? What responsibilities do they have on the ground for them to be able to say this is justified or this is not justified? I rise to support this statement, and I would like to urge the Senate, as Senator Wambua has proposed, the level of seriousness to be scaled up so that the committee of the whole discusses this issue, because where it stands now, at a time that county assemblies are required to pass budgets for the county executive in the coming financial year before 30th of June, county assemblies are closing shop, meaning devolution is going to be brought to grinding halt, which we should not allow as the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. My appeal to my colleagues is that we really need to take up this issue of the county assemblies, their salaries, because as the Committee of Finance, we've received over 16 requests on issues that speakers and clerks are saying we are not even able to run this county assembly with what has taken shape. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to support and beg that my colleagues, the Senate of the Republic of Kenya, to agree that we scale this issue up so that the Committee of the Whole discusses for us to take drastic action. Otherwise, It's not only about the MCAs. Now it has gone to affecting devolution by closure of executive activities because budgets are not going to be processed. Finance bills and other things are going to really stall because assemblies have closed shop. Thank you very much. I support.
Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Allow me this afternoon to be the devil's advocate. Mr. Speaker, they say that the only vice that cannot be forgiven is hypocrisy. And that even the repentance of a hypocrite is itself hypocrisy. It is very easy for you to point fingers at other people, but whenever you are pointing a finger at someone, you should always remember that there are 4 that are pointing backwards to you. All of us in this discussion have a role to play. We have a role to play in the situation in our counties. We have a role to play in the situation in people's homes, people's kitchens. Mr. Speaker, we as a house, the way I understand the division of revenue to work, is that even the money that is supposed to go to the salaries, emoluments of the members of the county assembly come from the amount of money that we send to the counties. There is no separate allocation for that. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, when we as a house get an opportunity to increase the devolution basket, I hold the position that as a Senate, we must always do everything that we can to enlarge that basket before we come here and pontificate and try to please MCAs when we are the people who are part of the problem of the MCAs, Mr. Speaker. I was in this house and it embarrasses me greatly as a senator. Every time I see a senator speak about, oh, we don't have drugs in our hospitals. Oh, MCAs need better salaries. Where is that money going to come from? It is us as a Senate to fight to enlarge the basket of devolution. And the embarrassment that I get, Mr. Speaker, is that the opportunity that we get to enlarge that basket is through the division of revenue bill. That bill was here. We had an opportunity to enlarge that basket. We as a Senate chose not to enlarge that basket. And it cannot come from us that now we are suddenly realizing that MCAs need more money. In fact, Mr. Speaker, we in our committees, whenever we meet the county assemblies, they come before the county public accounts committee. We have had this conversation with members of the county assembly. And we don't have to appear like we are tone deaf. We are having this conversation at a time when every Kenyan is struggling. I have argued that, in fact, if we are talking about earnings and salaries, let us have a conversation about all Kenyans' earnings and salaries. Everybody is suffering, Mr. Speaker. We would appear to be tone deaf as a house if we only picked to discuss our own emoluments or emoluments of other elected leaders, Mr. Speaker. In fact, we have tried to convince our colleagues on the other side of the political divide that we must have a conversation generally about how Kenyans are doing. People's incomes have not grown for a long time, Mr. Speaker. All these responsibilities that people are talking about, it's not as if only elected MPs or elected members of the county assemblies are invited to Harambes. No. People who work in public service, wanaitwa wakubwa, they are called senior people on the ground there, they are called, but their salaries have not grown, Mr. Speaker. So let us not have this conversation in the context in which the country is in right now. Mr. Speaker, what I want us to do...
What is your point of order, Senator Sifuna? What is your point of order, Senator Methu?
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I would not have really wanted to disrupt my big brother, Senator Sifuna, but I think it is fair that I quote Standing Order 105, responsibility for statement of fact. A senator shall be responsible for accuracy of any facts that the senator alleges to be true and may be required to substantiate. Mr. Speaker, I find the argument of Senator Sifuna misleading that the more amount of money we send to counties, the more MCAs will get, because capping of what MCAs or any public servant earns is by SRC. Even if we were to send 1 trillion to the counties, yes, and the money has been capped at 86, Mr. Speaker, the county assembly or county government cannot be able to raise their salaries. Exactly. So the point that is the statement, I think he's contributing to a statement that has not been sought. Yeah. What Senator Cherargei has sought this afternoon is a review by the SRC, not a review by Division of Revenue, not a review by the Senate, not a review by anybody, because the only person that has that mandate is the SRC. Exactly. I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sifuna.
Yes.
In your statement, you alluded to the fact that the more money that goes to the counties, then the more the MCAs will.
Mr. Speaker.
Is that correct?
Mr. Speaker, that's not what I said. When Senator Cherargei was speaking, he talked about salaries, he talks about allowances and the welfare of members. Mr. Speaker, let me give you an example. There was a time here in the County Assembly of Nairobi when the Assembly was not able to purchase water. You are also aware, Mr. Speaker, that there is a capping on the percentage that can be utilized in terms of emoluments and salaries in the counties. Mr. Speaker, what I am saying is this, and it has been submitted on this floor, that salaries is not the only way to make a member effective as a legislator, as an oversighter. What I am saying is, let us get whenever we get an opportunity to grow that basket, Mr. Speaker, and we have had this conversation with members of the County Assembly who have appeared before us, that they would want to have autonomy of their own budgets. I don't think that Senator Methu understood what I was saying, because these are all matters that had been canvassed here.
Senator Kajwang, what is your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I'm rising on a point of information to Senator Sifuna if he accepts.
Then you need permission from the senator. Senator Sifuna, would you wish to be informed?
Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, he's the chair of PAC. He's my chair. I have to say yes. I don't have any option.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know why he said unfortunately, but but Mr. Speaker, the matter raised by Senator Methu is not true. Senator Sifuna would be right, because if you look at the regulations, the PFM County Government Regulations of 2015, and that is Regulation 25(1)F, whatever county assemblies get is supposed to be based on the equitable share of a county. The regulations that we passed currently puts it at 7% of a county's equitable share, or twice the personnel emoluments, whichever is greater. So it is not far-fetched for Senator Sifuna to say that the more money we send to counties, the more money that will be available to county assemblies. Not necessarily for salary, Mr. Speaker, but it could be for operations. It could be to facilitate public participation, public outreach, and to enable them to carry out their oversight and representation mandate. And so, Mr. Speaker, I just wanted to remind Senator Sifuna of this. We had discussed it in the morning, and he does not have to apologize to Senator Methu for making an impression that if we would have voted for 407 billion, then county assemblies would have been given access to more money to be able to carry out operations, which I know that the matter before us is about salaries and payments and benefits, but county assemblies would have gotten more money if the Senate gives more money to counties.
Senator Sifuna, proceed to conclude your remarks, please. Let's rest this matter there. Proceed to conclude your remarks.
I thank you, Mr. Speaker, but we understand the jitteriness of our colleagues when we discuss this matter.
Proceed to
because even their own MCAs ask them these questions when they go home. Mr. Speaker, finally, let me conclude that at the county Public Accounts Committee, Mr. Speaker, in fact, this question of the autonomy of the Assembly, autonomy of the budgets of the Assembly, is something that we as a Senate must now expedite. I am aware that our legal team is working on this. And the review of the ceilings, I am very happy with the chairperson of our Finance Committee, the senator from Mandera, He is always willing to listen to the county assemblies when they come to him and the members of the budget, including my sister, Senator Tabitha Mutinda. Because, Mr. Speaker, there are actual and real impediments to the carrying out of these functions. And even for us here, we don't necessarily have to, we have had this conversation about our own affairs in here. And we have agreed it doesn't have to be about salary. It cannot just be about facilitating the role of a senator. If it is possible for me to conduct oversight and I don't touch any money, let me find the holes where people are going to hold public participation already paid for, water is there, people are there. I don't need to touch the money, Mr. Speaker. So please, let us not run away from our primary responsibility and vilify other organizations such as the CRA. Once we grow our devolution basket, then let us have a conversation with CRA about allocation of more resources to those who provide oversight. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
We're going to allow, at least to be fair, I'm going to allow our lady senators to speak. And I'm going to allow Senator Tabitha, thereafter Senator Kavindu, and then we rest this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to be able to support the good statement by Senator Cherargei. To our good colleagues at the ground level, none other than the MCAs. Mr. Speaker, let me start by pointing out that this SRC chair did allocate themselves or herself car grant worth 10 million, whereas the MCAs are whose allocation is actually 2 million, which is still taxed. And this is quite very unfair because we know the role that the MCAs do play at the ground level. The easy connection between them and the people on the ground, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, one thing that is very highlight that comes out is the lack of autonomy for the county assembly to be able to budget their resources. This is because they have to await when funds have been allocated to the county, and then the governors have to transfer the same funds. This has brought quite high levels of friction. And it is at this time, as we address the issue of SRC on the welfare of the MCAs, the issue of independence at the county levels. The MCAs should be able to budget their own funds without depending from the governors. This has made governors become, you know, very hard-headed in how they have to coerce the MCAs because they hold the money that is supposed.
Honourable Senators, kindly take your seats. These are the results of the division vote. Ayes 32, nays 0, abstention 0. So the ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to provide for production, processing, marketing, and distribution of cotton in Kenya, its products, establish the Cotton Industry Development Board, provide a framework for cotton farming, ensure value addition in cotton and its related products, and for connected purposes.
The Sergeant at Arms kindly proceed to withdraw the bar and open the doors. Next order, clerk.
Order number 10, Committee of the Whole. The Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2023, Division. Order number 11, Committee of the Whole. The County Vocational Education and Training Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2022, Division. Yeah.
So, then how are they going to answer?
The question will be put.
If we could resume our seats, then we can proceed on with this session of the Committee of the Whole. Senators, we request you, do not leave because we need to do a division after I have put the question. Honorable members who are laughing, can you now resume your seat? Honorable Senator Tabitha, you are distracting Senator Madzayo. You could resume your seat. Honorable members, on 24th May 2023, there were some questions that were navigated on the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2023, and there are certain clauses that now need to go to division. On the first clause that needs to be put to division, I want to put the question now. Senator Mwaruma, I request you to resume your seat. I now put the question that clause 2 and the schedule be amended as proposed. We are going to vote electronically, so you can... Sergeant at arms, please draw the bar and lock the doors. Yes. Yes, one by one. Yes. So we can now proceed. Members, we request you to log in. If you had not logged in, please log in. Voting is electronic. Log out and then log in again. Sergeant at arms, please be alert to take out any card that is not supposed to be logged in. We proceed to vote electronically. Yes. Voting, honorable members, we'll now have a report from the clerk. Senator Mwinyi Haji, please approach the chair. Senator Karungo, please come and vote manually. You need assistance?
Yes.
Honorable Senators, we are going to the second set. I put the question that clause 2 is amended, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5, clause 6, the schedule is amended, the title and clause 1 be part of the bill. We will vote electronically. You can vote now. You don't need to log out, just vote. The system is set. Senator Omutata, Senator Boni Hadwale, approach the chair, please. Come and vote manually. Where is the first question? Okay. Honorable members, Senator Omutata, order. Resume your seat. Honorable Senators, the voting has been completed. And on the first question, the ayes, those who voted in favor of the ayes had 26 votes. The nays have 1 vote. Abstentions is 0. The ayes have it. On the second questions, those who voted, the ayes had 27 votes and the nays had 1. Abstention 0. The ayes have it. We will report before we go to the next bill. So, Chairperson, please come.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee do report to the Senate its consideration of the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendment. Thank you.
Honorable members, I put the question that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendments. As many as are of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as are of contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. We are now going to the next bill. Honorable Senators, the Senate has canvassed the clauses in the County Vocational Education and Training Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2022. We are now moving to division. We have 2 sets of clauses to go through. On the first clause, I put the question that clause number 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, including the heading of part 2, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, in relation to heading of part 3, 21, 22, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 34, 38, 2, and 1 be amended as proposed. We are going to vote electronically. So members, make sure you are in a position to vote so that we can proceed with voting in the next. You can vote in the next 60 seconds. So let's get the results now of the voting. Senator Aaron Cheriot, Majority Leader, approached the chair. Assisted voter. We can proceed to the next set. Honorable Senators, I put the question that Clause 3, Clause 4 is amended, Clause 5 is amended, Clause 6 is amended, Clause 7 is amended, Clause 8, including heading of Part 2, is amended, Clause 9 is amended, Clause 10 is amended, Clause 11 is amended, Clause 12 is amended, Clause 13 is amended, Clause 14 is amended, Clause 15 is amended, Clause 16 is amended, Clause 17 is amended, Clause 18 is amended, Clause 19, Clause 20, in relation to the heading of Part 3 is amended, Clause 21 is amended, 2 is amended, Clause 23, Clause 24, Clause 25, Clause 26, Clause 27 is amended, Clause 28 is amended, Clause 29 is amended, Clause 30 is amended, Clause 31 is amended, Clause 32, Clause 33, Clause 34 is amended, Clause 35, Clause 36, Clause 37, Clause 38 is amended, Clause 2 is amended, the title, and Clause 1 is amended, be part of the bill. Ready to vote? You can proceed to vote. We are now getting the results of that voting. Senator Mwinyi Haji Faki Mohammed, please approach the chair. Senator Mazayo, approach the chair, please. Honorable Senators, on the first clause, the ayes voted, the senators who voted yes are 29, the nays 0, abstaining 0. The ayes have it. On the second set of clause, the ayes had 28 votes, the noes 0, abstaining 0. The ayes have it. We will now proceed to reports. So I call them. Senator Kajwang.
Honorable Chairperson, I beg to move that the committee do report to the Senate its consideration of the County Vocational Education and Training Bill, Senate Bill number 3 of 2022, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Honorable Senators, I put the question that the committee do report to the House its consideration of the County Vocational Education and Training Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2022, and its approval thereof with amendments. As many as are of that opinion say aye. As many as are of contrary opinion say no. The ayes have it.
Members, kindly don't leave. We finish up this business. Chairperson of the Committee of the Whole to report. Chairperson.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole has considered the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2023, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Thank you. Who is seconding?
I request Senator Medhu, second.
Senator Medhu. What are you seconding, Senator Medhu?
You know, Mr. Speaker, Veronica Maina has been my Secretary General, so whatever she says, I have to second.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the House do agree with the committee in the same report. Honorable Senators, I put the question that the House do agree with the committee in the same report. As many as of similar opinion say aye. Aye. As those of contrary opinion say nay. Mover. Ayes have it.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, Senate Bill number 3 of 2023, be now read a third time.
Who is seconding?
And I request Senator Kalwale to second.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I second.
Thank you. Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2023, now be read at that time. Yeah, there is no senator interested to make a comment. Therefore, I put the question that the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2023, be now read at that time. Okay, let's go to the next bill. Chairperson.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report that the Committee of the Whole has considered the County Vocational Education and Training Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2022, and its approval thereof with amendments.
Mover, Senator Kajwang.
Should be seconded first. You first second?
Senator Mungatana.
Mr. Mover.
Speaker, I second.
No, I called the mover. Move, Senator Kajwang. I'm waiting for you.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee on the said report. And I
Now,
ask
who is seconding?
Senator Haji to second.
Speaker, I second.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the House do agree with the committee in the same report. I put the question that the House do agree with the committee in the same report. As many as of similar opinion say aye. Aye. As those of contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Move again. Senator Kajwang, you are the mover. Senator Kajwang. The third reading.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the County Vocational Education and Training Bill, Senate Bill number 3 of 2022, be now read a third time, and I'll ask Senator Sifuna to second.
Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I second.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the County Vocational Education and Training Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2022, now be read at that time. Yeah, still no interest. Honorable Senators, I put the question that the County Vocational Education and Training Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2022, be now read at that time. Let us have the quorum bell belong for 3 minutes. Sanjay Tatam, close the door. Sanjay Tatam also drew the bar, kindly. Yeah. So, Honorable Senators, we are now on the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2023. We do the voting on this bill and then we do the next one. So one at a time. So I put the question that the House do agree with the committee in the Cindy report. You can. So I put the question that the Equalization Fund Appropriation Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2023, be now read at that time. Proceed and vote. Senators Mulugo Lecha Julius, Senator Mugatana Danson, and Senator Modha Magnis approach the table.